Great job, by the way. I always admire this kind of, because I think cinematographically it has to be difficult and you have to be patient. I think you're like people who make documentaries and the work that you do, they have to have this level of patience that I don't think I have.
See, Ruben, I think that's a common misconception. I think to be a
Oh,
wildlife filmmaker, you don't need to be patient. I'm not a patient person at all. But what I am is I'm very passionate and I'm very persistent. So I think much more important than patient is just being really stubborn. That's the key to filming animals doing cool things.
love it. The name is Dolphin Up Close. And I wonder, where do you draw the line for being up too close to the dolphins and respect their habitat and show us, the audience, what you
So
wanted to show me?
yeah, yeah. Well, I think when we say dolphins up close, that's not necessarily. I mean, of course, it is literally up close, but it's more metaphorically. We're going to
No, no,
bring you.
I understand, but where do you draw the line as a professional that you have to respect the habitat, but show me as an audience?
Of course. Yeah, yeah. It's a great question. Well, the most important thing to say is that the dolphins decide. They are much faster. They are probably much smarter than me as well, and they decide how close we get. We get in the water nearby, and they choose whether to come over and be filmed or not. If they don't want to get filmed, we can't film anything. So that's what I love about filming underwater is that on land you're often a good distance away and you're using big long zoom lenses to bring the viewer close. Underwater you can't do that because you're limited by the visibility, the particles in the water. So the animal really decides, they know you're there. You can't hide like you can on land. So the animals choose if they want to get filmed. So it's a good question. Where do I draw the line? But the dolphins draw the line. I just get in the water.
One of my favorite parts is when you have a conversation with a whaler, with a former whaler, that now he's a whale watching guy.
Mhm.
And do you think that the whole series shift after that conversation, or that's really a pivot part for your narrative?
Yeah, I think it's a really important part of all our shows. This series, the style of it is yes, of course, we show amazing animal behavior and we try and film it at the highest possible quality. But we also it's a behind the scenes show where we show how we struggle to find the animals. But because of that, it means that we're allowed not only to shine a spotlight on the animal characters, we can also shine a spotlight on the people. And I think by doing that, you gain a really important context. These shows can't just be entertaining. We can't just have people going, oh yeah, I like dolphins. We got to go further than that. And as you say, that chat with Daniel Matignano, the whaler,
Hmm.
up until the late 1980s, just 40 years ago, people in the Azores were hunting whales, and now they had this amazing shift. And now, as you say, Daniel, instead of spotting whales for whale hunting, he spots them for whale watching. And it's proof that wildlife conservation is not just beneficial for wildlife; it's also beneficial for people.
You have observed also the environment change and the outer migration of the whales. How's that important? Because we always watch in the news about climate change, about how this affect animals and the way they live, the way they eat, the way they survive. Plus, they've been hunted. And how important is climate change in these matters?
I'd say climate change is an enormous challenge, an enormous problem. It's very scary and it's very real. What I would say is that it is such a big problem, it's very easy to feel helpless because big problems require big solutions. So, what I'd recommend is that if someone's sat at home, learning about dolphins or watching any one of my shows and wants to help, don't think about the big problem. Think about the small problem, and more importantly, focus on the solutions. Climate change is terrifying, not because we worry about carbon in the atmosphere or the temperature going up. We worry because those things lead to the destruction of nature. So instead about focusing on climate change, focus on the destruction of nature. So what can you do as an individual to help nature. Well, you just need to make the planet wilder. So
Yeah.
whatever area you have control of, whether that be a little corner in your apartment or a garden, or if you're a CEO of a company, maybe you have access to some big land, or you're a very famous politician that can set up a national park. Wherever you are on that spectrum of control, you can make a change. You can plant more wildflowers. You can plant a tree. All of these things might seem small, but you will see a quantifiable positive change. So rather than worrying about the problems, focus on the solutions. I just think that's a much happier, better place to be, and ultimately, yeah, you'll see a quantifiable positive change.
I think also I remember many years ago I watched this documentary, The Cove, and usually and then it was following. They always make documentaries about how they suffer. I remember one also from the one who have a capitalism here in Disney in Florida, how much they suffer when the way they were treated. But your documentary showed me something different. Like it's okay to do tourism, but you have to do responsible tourism. That you have even in the Azores that you can go and enjoy. Do you think that your work now is in a larger platform like Disney Plus, National Geographic, you think the audience will have like a different mindset at the time that they go and see? Because I remember I went to Iceland and I tried to see the whales. I couldn't. And even in my country, in Dominican Republic, we have the same thing in Samana, up north. Do you think part of the responsibility that you have as a creator, it's that we learn how to do responsible tourism?
Totally. I mean, I think the phrase ecotourism is used a lot,
Hmm.
and I think it's used incorrectly a lot. Just because you're going to see wildlife does not mean that that is by default good for wildlife. That is the important thing to remember. But it is very possible to have amazing encounters with wildlife that is positive both for the wildlife and for the local people. So, what I would say is yes, please go and watch wildlife when you're on your holidays. I love it when people spend their money on going to see nature being, in nature. That is a great thing. But yeah, do your homework into who it is that's taking you out. How do they make sure that it's good for the animals and on the animals' terms? Because yeah, you have great power to do good, but you also have power to disturb. So yeah, bear that in mind. But no, it's an awesome thing to go see wildlife.
What do you think is so important? Take care also the communities around wherever you go,
For
people that
sure. I
live
mean,
around.
yeah, what I've learned about conservation is that it is not really about animals and wildlife. It's about people. And if you want a conservation project to work and be long lasting, it has to be beneficial for wildlife and for people. In the past, there's a very kind of colonial strategy of conservation, which is we build a big fence and we keep all the people out, and it's like, well, that might work some places, but that's not the world that we live in. Humans and wildlife need to live alongside each other. And yeah, wildlife tourism is a great way to fund the protection of wildlife, and recognize that people need to make a living. Yeah, it's awesome.
But you have also shoot sharks, penguins, and even big cats. Why so special with dolphins? What's the difference? What's the biggest difference that you have felt shooting dolphins?
I think they're an animal that everyone knows and loves. No one doesn't like dolphins.
I love dolphins.
Exactly. Who
I
doesn't?
mean, I live in Miami, and the only one that people hate him is the Miami Dolphins, the football team.
The Miami Dolphins hates dolphins. Really? That's a headline. I think what's key is that dolphins are in popular culture, but I feel like not much is actually shared about them. People talk about them being this, yeah, kind of happy, friendly animal. They're pretty smart. They live in family groups and they can jump out of the water.
Yeah, like
But
Free Willy. I was thinking about Free Willy all
yeah,
the time.
but beyond that, like, what do we know about them? Do you know that they hunt in these massive armies and their entire life is on the move?
I
And
learned that with your documentary.
yeah, and they're in these like Hollywood style car chases the entire time. Like this, and they're a predator. I don't think that's often said. I think that's really exciting, and yeah, that's why we made this show about them.
What do you expect that the people learn the most at the end of the documentary, at the end of the show?
I
When
think
we
the big
watch,
thing, I think the big thing is that wildlife will come back. It will bounce back, especially in the ocean if you give it the chance. You know, the Azores is home to Europe's largest marine protected area, and it works. Look at it. That's what we showed is evidence. So yeah, we should be doing that more places around the world.
it is possible for you. You say something at the beginning, and I'm curious. Can you design a sequence? Can you wait, I want to do this, and it
Yeah, I
happens
mean, we go with the plan. Some people on my team call it a script. I always laugh at that because
exactly?
we make all these plans and then on day one, Mother Nature goes, but she gives you something else that was much better than what you had in mind. So yeah, we go, I would say, with a broad outline rather than a script. And yeah, we sort of fill in the gaps and piece it together. But yeah, just like the dolphins decide whether or not we get close, Mother Nature decides what we end up filming.
Do you have anyone special that you enjoy the most doing it?
Any one dolphin?
Yes, like an impossible shot that you wasn't expecting, and you had like, wow, look what I
I was
have.
not expecting to film false killer whales underwater.
Oh,
So they're a really mysterious animal. You know, despite their name, they don't look like a killer whale. There's no white on them, and they're not a. Then they're a dolphin. So it's a really bad name. But they have these amazing, kind of sinister mouths full of teeth. And yeah, got in the water with a big family that was sharing a huge big-eyed tuna that they just caught, like a 200-pound tuna. It was mind-boggling to be in the water and see that.
Bertie, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much, and
Very much.
I
Yeah,
really enjoy your work.
thank you.